Platys are another one of my favorite fish in the aquarium hobby. While certain species of Platys are quite common, there are many variants and species that are quite rare and quite interesting. So let's head into the fish barn and check out all of my Platys, including a couple of new additions that we'll take a look at the end of the video. Since the majority of Platy species live in the upstairs section of the barn, let's go ahead and start there. This first 20-gallon high tank is home to my Xiphidium Evelynae, which is native to the Atlantic slope in the state of Puebla in Mexico. I found these specimens in Aquabid and have had them for a little bit over a year. Care for these fish is pretty similar to your typical store-bought Platy, with harder water and temps in the mid-70s to 80. Also very similar to the store-bought Platys, these fish do run at a similar size at about 2.5 inches long. While not a show-stopping fish in terms of coloration, I really do enjoy the speckling markings on this fish. I did have some spawns last summer, but these fish did slow down in the wintertime when the fish barn does run a little bit cooler. So now that it's springtime again, I really hope these fish pick back up and begin breeding again. The next species we're going to look at is not only one of my favorite Platy species, but actually one of my favorite freshwater species in all the aquarium hobby, the Xiphidium Variatus from Rio Coacuilco. I actually like this fish so much, I actually have two specific groups of these fish. This first group is living in a 37-gallon acrylic cube tank. While I would never enter this tank in an aquascaping competition, this tank does do a great job of breeding fish. I have this tank planted with some Java moss. There's also some hair algae that does grow off of the sponge filter. This specific group of Platys is from the Gil Rosenthal lab at Texas A&M University. I was able to find these fish at my local fish club auction last November, and as you can see, they've been quite prolific. One very interesting fact about this fish is that the males can have 3 different tail colors: a red tail, a clear tail, or a yellow tail. The dominant male in this tank does have a yellow tail. I am pretty excited to see the fry grow out and see what the distribution is of the different tail colors. This is definitely a beautiful Platy species, and one that I'm very happy to have here in my fish room. So let's head over to this next 20-gallon tank that's home to the second group of Xiphidium Variatus from Rio Coacuilco. The male in this tank with the red tail was what really made me fall in love with this variant of Variatus Platy. With his bright coloration and red tail, I find this fish to be absolutely stunning. I found this fish back in June of 2021 in Akron, Ohio at the Akron Aquarium Club Summer Swap event. Definitely a great little find. I do keep these fish separate from the fish we just saw previously, since I don't have the location information that I have on the first fish. Unfortunately, I've not seen the fry production that we saw with the first fish in this original group, but I'll be patient and hopefully they'll draw some fry fairly soon. So the next fish is one that's extinct in the wild, and that is the Xiphidium Couchianus. This fish was native to a small section of the San Juan River in the city of Monterrey, Mexico, but unfortunately lost its habitat due to land reclamation and pollution. Thankfully, this fish is still being kept alive in the hobby by dedicated aquarists, the Texas State Stock Center, and the American Live Bear Association. I really do like this fish with its distinct white belly and reddish-brown top color. These fish did have some initial spawning for me, but after that they've been a little bit slow with producing fry. But hopefully we'll see some fry here in the near future. Since this fish is extinct in the wild, I definitely do consider this fish one of my more prized possessions here in the fish barn. So let's head next door to another 20-gallon tank, which is home to my Xiphidium Variatus from Rio Huextitla. I was able to obtain this fish from a couple of different sources. I had purchased an original group off of Aquabid, and then I was able to get a second group from the Chicago Live Bear Association auction earlier this year. While most of these fish are still juveniles, the adult forms actually do quite nice, having the speckling much like the Xiphidium Evelynae that we saw earlier, but with a little bit more coloration. Since I'm still working on growing these fish out, it'll be a little bit before we see some fry, but I am very excited for the adult coloration and at some point to get these fish start producing fry. I really do think these fish have a lot of potential, and I'm really looking forward to getting these fish going here in the fish barn. This next 29-gallon tank is home to 2 species of fish, but only one of which are Platys. The shiny silvery fish with the large black gravid spot is the Limia melanogaster, but the smaller yellowish fish is the Xiphidium maculatus from Rio Grijalva in Mexico. I was not able to find a ton of information on this fish, either from a care perspective or any information about this variant in general. From my experience, these fish do seem to have the same requirements as your normal platy species. I did pick up this group as fry last November at our local club auction, and they have grown up quite a bit. I'm curious to see over the next few months if there's any significant growth changes or any other changes in coloration of the fish. So it will definitely be interesting to see how these fish turn out. We're going to go ahead and hit this second 29-gallon tank that's home to my Variatus Variatus from Rio Encino. These fish do share a tank with another Limia species, the Limia isli, which are the fish with the striped patterns on them. This was another aquabid purchase that I made back last year. This colony did struggle a bit to get going, but they've done better since I moved them to this bigger tank. Unfortunately, I only ended up with 3 females, but fortunately, they're gravid. If you take a look on the internet, the dominant male of this fish is actually pretty nice looking, with a nice yellow sheen with some red on the tail. I'm really looking forward to getting some fry drops from these females and seeing if we can kickstart this colony a little bit. Definitely looking forward to seeing some colorful males in here. So now let's get to the 2 new additions to the fish room. The first one being a fish that I've been on the hunt for quite some time, the Xiphidium from Rio Purification. This fish is also known as the spike-tail platy due to the tiny sword that you can find on its tail. I was finally able to find these fish on Aquabid after hunting for them for some time. Since my fish are only juveniles, they don't have their final adult coloration yet, but I would highly encourage you to check them out online to get a picture of the adults, because these are truly beautiful fish. These are rather small fish, only topping out at about 1 inch to 1.5 inches long, being perfect for your nano tanks. I'm currently keeping mine in this 15-gallon aquarium with a group of celestial pearl danios, since both fish like to be kept at room temperature. So considering the time it took me to find these fish, I'm definitely really happy to have them here in the fish room. So let's talk about the second fish now, the Xiphidium Milleri from Lago di Catemaco in Mexico. These fish are endemic to that lake, and they really do have a nice speckly, cool bronze coloration. So like the Xiphidium, these fish are quite small, only topping out at about a couple inches or so. Again, another great nano fish. These fish are sharing a 20-gallon tank right now with my Aresius Waray that I picked up last month at the local fish club auction. From what I've been able to find out about these fish do like their temperature a little bit on the cooler side, preferring a room temperature with no heater. These fish were another aquabid find, and I actually got these from the same seller that I got the Xiphidium from. So these were definitely some good finds on aquabid. I'm really excited to have these cool little gold platies in my fish room, and really looking forward to getting them breeding, and at some point, getting them out to my fish keeping friends. So I definitely hope you enjoyed taking a look at all the platies here in the fish barn. There's definitely some very interesting species out there, aside from the ones you find at your local big box store. So with that being said, stay safe, stay fishy, and I'll see you on the next video.